Okay, what's going on, everybody? We are here. We're live. I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you can see and hear me clearly, please drop a 1 in the live chat, and then we can get today's stream started. And as I'm waiting for the ones to come in, if you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, because that is the most important thing you can do for me on this channel. What it does, that it helps to make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get their notifications, and it also helps to push this video through the YouTube algorithm as well. Secondly, if you're new to the channel, or maybe you've been ghost watching this channel for quite some time now, I see you ghost watching, please do me a favor and yourself a favor by hitting the subscribe button, as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button, so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please make sure you share this video out on your social media platforms to your family and friends to inform them on this news and information. And yes, that does help to give me a slight boost in the YouTube algorithm as well. And lastly, if you haven't, please, it is very important that you follow me on Rumble and Telegram at TD Media Group. Please follow me on both Telegram and Rumble at TD Media Group. The link to both my Telegram and Rumble page is in the description box below, and will be pinned in the comment section once the stream ends. And I got something else for you guys, and I'm got a smirk on my face for a reason. All right. And it's the last thing, I promise. We're going to get the stream started right now. I need to start it right now. If you haven't already, some of you might already be subscribed here because this used to be a channel called TD News Network. But now this channel is called TD Media Group Clips and Quick Hits. Please do me a favor and go subscribe to this channel right now. I'll leave the link in the live chat right now. The link to TD Media Group Clips and Quick Hits is in the live chat right now. So go ahead and hit that link and subscribe to that channel if you haven't already. And I'll make sure to leave it pinned in the comment section below once the stream ends also. But now, all jokes aside, let's get into the seriousness, okay? All jokes aside, let's get into the seriousness because apparently democracy is on the ballot, right? Democracy is on the ballot, but RFK Jr. isn't on the ballot. He's not on the ballot in New York. He's been removed from the ballot by the Democrats. And it just goes to show, and I don't know, man, do I really need to say it? I've said it so many times over and over, but I guess I'm just going to keep on saying it. The ones who claim to be protecting democracy the most are the ones who are the most against it. They are definitely the ones who are the most against it. I want to get into this article very quickly first. Let's dive into this information. It looks like I'm glitching a little bit, but it is what it is. We'll just have to muster through it. Let's go through this real quick. RFK Jr. denied New York ballot access over residency concerns. Ladies and gentlemen, this is 100% lawfare. Nothing more, nothing less. This is lawfare at its finest. This was a BS sham fraud case that was levied against RFK Jr. in order for him to be removed off the ballot in New York. Apparently to give Kamala an advantage over there, because I guess she needs it. Of all places, New York. You wouldn't think that, but that's how poorly the Biden-Harris administration has run the country, that maybe to some degree New York is up for grabs, which would be a shocker, and they need to make sure they secure it. So they got RFK Jr. off for now. For now. Let me zoom in just a little bit so we can read this along together. Independent president candidate RFK Jr. will not appear on New York's presidential ballot in November. A state judge ruled Monday, finding he falsely claimed residency in the state. Judge Christina Reba said the room in the, Judge Christina Reba said the room in the New York City suburbs that Kennedy used to claim residency was not a bona fide and legitimate resident, but merely a sham address that he assumed for the purpose of maintaining his voter registration. Let's unpack this a little bit, right? I want to unpack how foolish this is before we do a little bit more reading, because there's a couple more paragraphs that I want to read here, and then we're going to get into a RFK Jr.'s response, right? First thing is first. Oh, the Democrats are happy. Look at this, Democrats.org. Democrats.org. You see this article he reads right here that they put up. I see why am I. In case you missed it, breaking news. We did it, Joe. We did it. We got RFK Jr. off the ballot. RFK Jr. found guilty of using sham address to gain ballot access in New York. This is on Democrats.org. They are thrilled and are throwing a little mini parade for themselves right now. Understand, this is completely ridiculous, and it's completely nonsensical, right? If you're a part of the DNC or RNC machine, you don't have to deal with the kind of hoops and hurdles that an independent candidate has to deal with concerning the trials and tribulations, you can say, of trying to get yourself on the ballot, and having to get petitions signed. You need thousands of signatures, so on and so forth, just to get your name on a ballot in each respective state. In no way, shape, form, or fashion should it matter whether or not RFK Jr. is a resident of New York State. If that's the criteria for one to be able to be on the ballot, then we shouldn't even have presidential elections anymore. Because I'm pretty sure Kamala Harris isn't a resident of Wyoming. Pretty sure she doesn't live there. I'm pretty sure Donald Trump doesn't live in Idaho. I'm pretty sure he doesn't live there, right? So the fact that RFK Jr., though he does actually live in New York, right? And we're going to get into that because I'm going to let him speak for himself when I play the video. He lives in New York. His residence is in New York, right? Even if it wasn't, so what? He's not running for city council of that district that he apparently has his address registered as. He's not running for a seat at the House of Representatives, right? Where you have to live and reside in that district. He's running for president of the United States of America. So whether or not he does or doesn't live in New York is irrelevant. But these are the lens that Democrats will go through engaging in lawfare to remove RFK Jr. off the ballot. The same way they engaged in lawfare in an attempt to remove Donald Trump off the ballot. Once again, the people who claim to be trying to protect democracy the most are the ones who violated the most. Let's get back into the original article that we're reading for some more detail so we can unpack this some more, right? So the article continues to read as such. The challenge was filed by Clear Choice Action, a Democratic-aligned group that has filed challenges to Kennedy and other third-party candidates' ballot access across the country. So they're doing this not just in New York, they're doing it all across the country. And not just to RFK Jr., but to other third-party candidates as well. Why? Because they don't believe in the democracy that they claim to be fighting for. They don't believe in it at all whatsoever. Reba said photos submitted in evidence appeared to show that Kennedy's supposed residence isn't legitimate. Given the size and appearance of the spare bedroom as shown in the photographs admitted into evidence, the court finds Kennedy's testimony that he may return to that bedroom to reside with his wife, family members, multiple pets, and all of his personal belongings to be highly improbable, if not preposterous, the judge wrote, right? Now, who is this judge who is a Democrat, by the way? Well, here she is right here. Here's the judge right here. The Honorable Christina L. Reba. This is her. The Honorable Christina L. Reba. This is the woman that got RFK Jr. knocked off the ballot, apparently in an effort to preserve democracy. Party first at all times. Okay, party first at all times. I don't want to say too much, but I don't know. She's looking for one of those Ketanji Brown Jackson spots in case Kamala, gets elected. Is that what we're doing here, sis? Looking for one of those, I'm the first, looking for one of those spots. Yeah. Just in case Kamala gets elected, playing your part, huh? Party first, party first, party first at all times. Party first. Now, RFK Jr. did have quite a bit to say about this. And I want to go into a couple of his tweets, and then I actually want to play his video response, which is a bit lengthy. I don't know if I'll play the whole thing. It's about 7 minutes. But it is very interesting what he had to say concerning this. Number one, he stated this first. This case is an assault on New York voters who signed in record numbers to place me on their ballot. The DNC has become a party that uses lawfare in place of the democratic election process. We will appeal and we will win. And I 100% agree with them. This is what the DNC has turned into, a party who consistently weaponizes the law in order to remove their opponents off the ballot versus using that money to simply run ads and compete against those that they're supposed to be running against on the ballot. Once again, they claim to be fighting for democracy while being anti-democratic consistently. And upon watching these videos and seeing this information, if you don't see this by now, you literally just don't want to see it. You don't see it because you don't want to, not because it isn't clear and obvious. It's clear as day who these folks really are. And they keep showing you who these folks really are. They keep showing you who they are. And at this point, you're most likely just choosing not to believe it. You're choosing not to because you're caught up in your emotions and feelings over the facts of what's actually going on in real time right in front of your face. Now, what I want to do is I want to get into another tweet by RFK Jr., but I also want to complement it by playing the video that he had underneath it. But RFK Jr. Continued to write, as many of you saw yesterday, a New York judge disqualified me from New York ballot access, despite the nearly 150,000 signatures my campaign obtained from New Yorkers waiting to see me as a choice this November. Just snatched them right off the ballot. They don't care about what you want over there in New York. You just better vote Harris. That's all that matters. The ruling came after the plaintiffs argued I am not, in fact, a resident of New York, which I am. I'll still be on the ballot. Don't worry about that. We will appeal this decision and we will win. The worry here isn't about my campaign for president. The worry is about the state of our country and the DNC's all-out anti-democratic lawfare campaign. Stand up against voter disinformation, stand up against voter disenfranchisement. Your contribution will make a real difference. Donate what you can today, right? And then he leaves a donate button. But I 100% agree with him on this. Despite the fact that I don't support his campaign. I don't support his campaign because RFK Jr. is very much so a liberal. You know what I mean? He's very much so a liberal. He's very much so a Democrat who's just, we all know he's running as Democrat because he's running as an independent because he was boxed out, by the DNC. They wouldn't allow him to fairly run against Joe Biden. Despite that, I don't have to be an endorser of RFK Jr. or supporter of his or agree with any of his policies in order for me to still agree that he should be on the ballot, right? Especially when you got 150,000 signatures in New York for you to be on it in New York. He deserves to be on there. And people deserve to have the right to vote for RFK Jr. if that's what they want to do. I believe that. And I don't support the guy's campaign. I don't even, but apparently, once again, the people who are claiming that they're trying to save democracy, they're the ones the most against it and could care less about what the people of New York actually want. So now what I want to do is get into this video clip here. Let's dive into the video that he had here. And I like I said, it's a little lengthy. It's about 7 minutes long. But I think it's worth actually playing out in its entirety. I think it is worth actually playing out in its entirety, just so we get the full grasp of what actually happened. And let's get it from his understanding, because what's going to happen next. All the other news outlets, the MSNBCs and whatnot, they're going to spin all this and say, like, right winger RFK Jr., who was a secret MAGA supporter, lied and on his application and should never be able to exist in America again. Something silly like that. They always say nonsense on these channels. But I think it's good that we hear it straight from the horse's mouth concerning what happened and what's going on. But before we do that, man, I gotta show love and give my thank yous to the subscribers, man, who show love on this channel for me. Thank you, John Gullery. I appreciate you, bro. He said it's funny how the party that say that they are fighting to keep democracy, they continually violate it. Shake my head. Exactly. The ones who claim to be fighting for democracy the most are the ones who violated the most, John Gullery. You're 100% correct. Untried Genius, my man, came through and said, Dems are clear. If you break ranks, they will come for you. Look, RFK, Trump, Ice Cube, Killer Mike, all treated as evil and treacherous by the DNC, NPCs. And he's 100% right, because Trump used to be a Democrat, and when Trump was a Democrat, everybody loved him. And I have actually a couple streams to do on that. Two particularly that I have in mind that I haven't done yet. But prior to running for office, everybody loves Trump. They all loved him, but then all of a sudden he became, the devil in the flesh. RFK Jr. as well. Nobody had a problem with RFK Jr. until he ran for president. Oh, I take that back. Until he started telling the truth about the great illness of 2020. That's when all of a sudden he became the devil in the flesh. Ice Cube as well, Killer Mike as well, rappers who were in the good graces of the DNC, but to a degree broke rank because they've been somewhat consistent in telling Black Americans, hey man, you don't have to stay on the quote Democrat plantation. You know what I mean? Like you have other options. You should explore other options. You should speak to other candidates. Don't just vote blue no matter who yourself out of existence. And because they're telling Black folks to just use your own mind, think for yourself, and ask questions, they've been, ostracized as well, right? So now let's get into this. Let's get into RFK Jr. Like I said, let's hear from the horse's mouth what he has to say concerning what happened to him recently with getting kicked off the ballot in New York.
Hey, everybody. We just lost our ballot access case in the state of New York. We lost it in the Supreme Court in Albany. The Supreme Court, ironically, in New York State is the lowest court in the state. And we will be appealing this. And we're very confident that in the Court of Appeals or the Appellate Division that we will prevail, that this loss is just a road bump. But I wanted to explain to you what happened. I've always kept an address in New York, even though I have 3 houses. Cheryl and I have a house on Cape Cod that's been in my family for many years. We also have our primary residence right now, which is in California. And I keep a residence in New York because that's where my domicile is. Officially, it has been my whole life. I've lived in New York for 60 years. Since I was 10 years old, I moved here when my father ran for Senate. Ironically, he was castigated as a carpetbagger, meaning people were doubting his New York State residency at the time. So it's interesting for me and paradoxical that I'm now in the same battle that my dad was, trying to prove my New York State residency. My driver's license is in New York. My car is registered in New York. My law license is in New York. I pay income taxes in New York more than any other state. My law office is in New York, my only law office. And I also have a lot of other licenses in New York. My hunting license is here, my fishing license, my falconry license, etc. I vote here. It's the only place that I vote. The rule in virtually every state is that your domicile is the place where you intend to return. Oh, I have lived in other places. I've lived in Alabama. I've lived in South Dakota. I've lived in Massachusetts. I'm living now in California. but I've always voted in New York, and I've always intended to return here. And when Cheryl and I married in 2014, we agreed that when her acting career is over, that we'll come back to New York and we'll live in the town of Bedford. I've lived in this town for 40 years. I've actually lived in 13 different addresses in this town, and this is the town where I intend to retire to.
Now, one thing that I want to highlight, right? I want to highlight this also because, I see some of you saying, disturbing. Some are saying, the fix is in. And so, a bit of news that I haven't gotten around to yet, but I am going to actually record the video today and upload this video today. Is that recently I saw a headline, and I didn't actually read the article yet, but I'm pretty sure it holds true once I read it, and I'll be able to get to it. But apparently, in Pennsylvania, I believe it's the governor of Pennsylvania who stated that he can't guarantee same-day results, right, for this year's election. They're not guaranteeing it. They're telling you already off the bat, hey, man, we can't guarantee whether or not, we'll give you, all the results, in time, by the end of the day. We can't guarantee same-day election results. We're not going to guarantee it at all. And apparently, Ron DeSantis spoke out against that and stated, hey, we count more ballots here than you guys do over there. And if we're able to do it in one day, how come you guys can't do it in one day? Why are you putting out statements saying that you can't guarantee, same day results? I find that very interesting. Like I said, I didn't read that. I saw the headline. I didn't actually read the article in its entirety yet, but I plan to. And when I do, I'm definitely going to do a video about that. But let's get back into what RFK had to say.
Here's the problem with the court decision. I was advised by my attorney, who was Paul Ross. He was arguably the best ballot access attorney in the country, that I needed to put my New York address down, that it's the only address that a lawsuit, my own, that I would survive a lawsuit. He said, you're going to get sued by the DNC no matter what state. If you put Massachusetts, you'll be sued. If you put California, you're going to be sued, and you're going to be sued in the New York State Court. So probably in front of the same judge. So I acted on the advice of counsel, and when you do that, you cannot be convicted of fraud if you acted in good faith at the advice of counsel, which I did. And here's why he told me that. Most of the states require the candidate, which would be me, to use the same address on their ballot petitions. So you have to use a consistent address around all 50 states. And there are many states, including, for example, New Hampshire, that require that the domicile has to be the place where the candidate votes. Well, I've only ever voted in New York. So the only domicile I could put, and I had to swear in California, in New Hampshire, I had to take an oath in front of a notary that my voting address was my New York address. And so I had to use that address in those states, which means I had to use it in every state. And as you guys can imagine, this lawsuit is a frivolous lawsuit. It's a lawsuit that was brought by the DNC. The cost of these lawsuits by the DNC to us, to my campaign, is going to be over $10 million. Defending these frivolous lawsuits, we've won every one, and we're going to win this one.
That's crazy. Him and his campaign has spent $10 million fighting the DNC so far. $10 million fighting the DNC in court, because they basically just pursuing him from state to state to state to state to state, filing all type of frivolous lawsuits against him in order to remove him off the ballot in all these different areas, in all these different states. That is insane. That is an insane amount of money to have to spend in defense of you being able to run for president of the United States. That is insane. That is insane. Carrie stated, and I like this comment here. They tell us democracy is on the line. By the way, put Harris as nominee without one vote and remove your competitors from ballots with lawsuits. Yeah. They put Harris as a nominee without any votes, and then they're removing all the competitors off get them out of here. And mind you, RFK Jr. is just, fortunate enough to be, the man that he is, with the name that he is, the legacy, the family legacy that he has, and the success that, comes with having that kind of bump in life, that he could afford to be able to pay off and fight these frivolous lawsuits to the tune of $10 million, right? I'm sure it's not all his own personal money. I know it's not his personal money, right? But that's also the point of these frivolous lawsuits as well, is to drain your campaign funding. Right, you get so much campaign funding from the people. I'm sure there are probably some businesses, businesses and super PACs that back him in his efforts. And as opposed to being able to run a campaign to win the presidency, you're spending all of your campaign funds defending yourself against the DNC, right? He's spending all his money, draining his funds, defending himself against the attacks from the Democrats. It's, once again, democracy's on the ballot as long as it's Democrats on the ballot, right? Everybody else, move around. Let's finish this out and listen to the rest of what he has to say.
But they're using lawfare to try to keep us off of the ballot. Is the opposite of what the Democratic Party was doing when I was a kid. The Democratic Party of Robert Kennedy, of John Kennedy, was a Democratic Party that was fighting to make sure that every American could vote for the candidate of their choice. The Democratic Party of today is doing everything in its power to make sure that Americans can only vote for the candidates that the party elites choose. And as you know, President Trump and Vice President Harris have both managed to get their party's nomination without actually running in a primary. They were simply chosen by the oligarchs, the donor class, and the Democratic elite. The Democratic Party, in other words, now the Democratic Party is doing everything it can to make sure that democracy does not happen. It's pretending that it wants to preserve democracy by actually destroying it. So that's where I am today. We filed. We're filing an appeal in New York State and in the state courts, and then we'll go up to the Supreme Court if we have to. And it's an expedited appeal. These election cases get faster treatment than any other case. They get precedence over every other claim. We're also filing a federal action under the 12th Amendment. The 12th Amendment says that there's only 3 requirements for president to run for president of the United States. 1 is that you're 35. 2, you're born in this country. And 3, that you're a citizen of this country and a resident. And I meet all 3 of those. The states are not allowed to impose additional burdens, and the courts have been particularly wary of any state laws that could create a patchwork. They say this is a national election, it's the only national election, and the states cannot obstruct that by adding burdens to candidates appearing on national ballots in all 50 states. So we're filing a preemptive lawsuit in federal court, and we expect to win that too, and to win it very, very quickly. But I wanted all of you to know what we're doing, and to tell you the press will probably play this in a way that is disadvantageous to me, to put it mildly. And I wanted you to know what the truth was, and to not worry, because we will prevail. Thank you.
And there it is. There it is. Like I said, despite the fact that, I feel like I have to chuckle when I say this. It's funny, despite the fact that I don't support his campaign, for a multitude of reasons, that doesn't mean that I don't support his right to be able to run for president. This is completely ridiculous, and ludicrous, to say the very least. Watching the way in which lawfare is consistently used now by the Democrats to attempt to remove their competitors off the ballot. And like I said earlier in the stream, man, if you don't see it by now, if you don't see the truth behind the Democrats by now, then you really just don't want to see it. You don't want to. You're caught up in your emotions. You're caught up in your feelings. You just simply want to believe whatever it is that you want to believe. And I guess that's the end of it. That's the end of it. The truth is right in front of your face. I guess you just don't want to see it. I guess you just don't want to see it. So I want to thank you all for joining me today. I want to go through the last couple thank yous that I got here. It's a couple super chats. I appreciate the support. I don't exist without you guys' support. So thank you very much for all of your support. Shout out to College of Natural Health Science, BDA. Hold on, College. Now I know what you want. I got to get it queued up. Let me get it queued up for college. Hold on. Let me turn the volume up. Okay, where is it at? There he goes. All right. My black dog returned white from the pet groomer, hoping to escape them chains.
They're going to put you all back in chains. They're going to put you all back in chains.
Hoping to escape them chains, like, just in case Trump wins, because he's going to be a dictator, and if Trump wins, he's going to bring back slavery, and all black folks are going to get
They're going to put you all back in chains.
To put us back in chains. And apparently, maybe, RFK Jr. too, if you let the Dems tell it. RFK Jr. is going to put us back in chains also.
They're going to put you all back in chains.
But I appreciate you, College, for always coming through, man. Thank you. G-Mag, I appreciate you for the super sticker. Ross, thank you for always coming through. Said, let's do an X Spaces mashup by the People Media, Be the Power, and TD Media Group. It will be epic. I'll think about it, Ross. I'll consider it. Understand, Ross. It's not personal. It's not personal. It's not personal, Ross. I'll consider it. I'll think about it. But I very purposely and strategically stay out the way. You know what I mean? I very purposely and strategically just kind of just keep my distance, and don't do too much jumping around and teaming up with people and collaborating with people. It's just something that I do to protect myself and my brand, we'll say. You know what I mean? Because I don't trust too many people. I don't trust anybody at all, actually. Not to say that you're a bad person. I'm not saying that you've been supporting this channel for a long time. But I just got to be careful. So like I said, I very purposely and strategically stay out the way. You know what I mean? I do that, but I'll consider it. I'll consider it. I'll think about it. All right. But I appreciate your support. Shout out to my man Terrell Young for becoming a channel member. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, Terrell. You've been around here for a minute, so I appreciate you, bro, for becoming a channel member. Ross said lawfare is the Democrats' modus operandi. It most definitely is. That's just what they do at this point. You just expect it. Expect lawfare from the Democrats. And shout out to my man Saul coming through as he always does, making sure that my family stays fed with his contributions to the channel. He said Dem voters might have their head in the sand. Yeah, for the most part. For the most part, they do. For the most part, they do. Like I said, they just don't want to see it. It's right there in front of their faces, and they just do not want to see it. So when someone doesn't want to see the truth, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to do. But I'm going to keep telling that truth over here. I'm going to make sure to keep exposing this stuff, regardless of what people think and how they feel. And once again, also as well, let me do this for you guys in closing. For those of you who are just now tuning into the stream, hold on just a minute. Don't leave me yet, guys. Don't leave me yet. Okay, I just got something that I want to show you guys, and then we'll be on our way for today. Don't leave me, please. In case you missed it at the top of the stream, please, man, subscribe to my Clips channel. Subscribe to my Clips channel. TD Media Group Clips and Quick Hits. Subscribe to my Clips channel, man. I definitely appreciate it. Some of you are already subscribed over there because that's the channel formerly known as TD Media Group. But I reconverted it. I've converted over to TD Media Group Clips and Quick Hits. It's not going to just be clips only. There will be original content on there as well, just in a lot shorter form. But hold me down, man, and subscribe to that channel. I just dropped the link in the live chat, and I'll make sure to have it in the pinned in the comment section below after the stream is over, man. So I want to thank you all for your time. Shout out to everybody watching on Rumble. I see you guys over there. Shout out to everybody watching on Twitter. And I will catch you guys later. And Val Williams with the buzzer beater. Swish. I appreciate you, Val, for always coming through. Thank you all very much. And have a great afternoon.